Well, welcome once again to the Doctor of Digital podcast. And I have a special guest today, and that is Mark Osborne. Now, let me tell you a little bit about him as we welcome him to the Doctor of Digital podcast. He is an advertising age marketing technology trailblazer, just like the pioneers back in the Old West. He is also author of the number one best-selling B2B marketing and sales book, Are Your Leads Killing Your Business? I wonder where we could get a copy of that. But it sounds like people are thinking, isn't that a good thing? So definitely we not want to talk to Mark. He's also got 20 years of experience. So that definitely means that we need to be talking with him. So welcome to the program, Mark. And please tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get into the field in the first place?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here. It's sort of a funny story. I got started in marketing in the early days of the internet. So for those of you that can remember back to
Sure.
long ago, before people had access to the internet every day,
Yeah.
you used to go on and post essentially like it was a billboard. They called them BBS Usenet groups.
Oh, sure.
They were billboards,
Yes.
and I was actually in college managing bands. And so when I would look for, how do I find audiences for my bands? People would go onto these billboards and they would post, I can trade you the concert tape for this band in this city. And their email address was their sign-in name, so there was no such thing as spam. So I started building databases of email addresses of people that I know liked a particular band and lived in a particular city. They had the Dave Matthews Band bootleg tape from Birmingham.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
when one of my bands that sounded like Dave Matthews went to Birmingham, I sent all of those people an email, led to selling out sort of unknown concerts for unknown artists, which
Yeah.
led to a job at a record label, led to a job at a radio station,
Wow.
and really sort of launched my career in marketing and leveraging digital and data and technology to
Very
connect
cool.
brands to consumers.
Well, now that's a really interesting background, and to say a little bit because I'm one of those people that loves music as well too. So, kind of a music guy my own self. In fact, I wrote a book that's coming out. Anyway, also I'm very interested in this last 20 years or so. So, could you talk a little bit about what are the biggest changes that you've seen from those old days when I remember as well too?
That's right. So, as I described, I got into marketing through really using data and technology to, make sense of things, and
Yeah.
got really deep into, how do you game the algorithm and what are all the growth hacks? And as you called out, I got so deep into it. Advertising Age named me a marketing technology trailblazer. I was one of the top 25 people in the world at using data and technology for marketing purposes, but as I saw the marketing tech and ad tech and marketing data space explode,
Right.
there's now over 11,000 different companies in the MarTech, ad tech
Yeah.
space,
Yeah.
all of which claim that they've got the one silver bullet that's going
Sure.
to help your business grow. And I realized you just can't keep up with that. And as I've come to work with more and more successful companies in the B2B SaaS and technology and services space, which is
Hmm.
primarily who I work with, early stage companies are really trying to double growth every year.
Yeah.
And you
Sure.
can't achieve that doubling of growth through chasing hacks or trying to game an algorithm.
Okay.
It really comes from building revenue systems that are based in sort of tried and true marketing strategy,
Hmm.
and then focusing on those systems that can attract the right prospects,
Okay.
accelerate your opportunities through the deal pipeline, and then activate your existing clients for renewals, upsells, and referrals. And so that's what we help companies do, is to not chase a hack, but instead to
Hmm.
build a system that can scale and grow and be optimized as they go through time.
Now,
That's the biggest change we've seen.
and it is. There's huge change that you're really addressing, and it's trying to summarize 20 years in a few minutes or so. But I get it, and I understand, I grasp it. A lot of people are talking about what's happening today or what's current, and what I'm curious if you could elaborate a bit on is what would you say are some of the hot areas that people should be focused on and looking on? Because a lot of people find technology to be kind of overwhelming, and especially marketing as well. There's a lot of people out there, like you say.
That's right. That's right. Well, what we see is the sort of key to success
Hmm.
for companies is, again, to begin with a strategic approach to what is the problem they're trying to solve, and then to build a system that is designed to solve that problem. And that's when you really find the opportunities for creativity and innovation to layer in artificial intelligence, or to layer in machine learning, or to layer in a new data set that sort of helps them understand the intent of their customers or opportunities in the marketplace. And so what we see is this sort of return to fundamentals is sort of the new thing that then can be enhanced with layering in things like Chat GPT for ways to have sort of more better content that you can take to the marketplace, or opportunities to layer in intent data about which of your prospects are out researching for companies like yours. But starting with the tool is sort of a key to distraction and doesn't lead to as much success. Whereas starting with the system, then you find the opportunity to layer in that tool to really sort of find that exponential growth.
Mm-hmm. Are there things, because you have mentioned AI and that's a hot area. So, I mean, would that be one of the things that you would say is a hot area, and anything related to that? Or what would people should maybe be looking at, because they want to know what's happening today and what's currently, how can I find help?
For sure. And generative AI, things like Chat GPT,
Mhm.
essentially artificial intelligence that can be used to, sort of start the bulk of the work. And the way that we think about that as companies are using it is, what are the tasks that sort of your lowest level employee doesn't want to do? How
Mhm.
do we create systems and processes that can leverage artificial intelligence, generative AI, to generate the first pass at that, so that then you can focus more sort of experienced or sort of thought leaders
Mhm.
on taking that content and then turning it into something really powerful. If you abdicate all of it to the AI or artificial intelligence, you're going to wind up with some pretty mediocre product. In the same way that if you put your least experienced person in charge of everything, you're going to wind up with any sort of low quality product. However, if you use them as a sort of a starting ground
Mhm.
to sort of gain a little bit of attraction, so that you're editing it rather than starting from scratch, you can then get some really good leverage out of those types of tools.
Should people be fearful of AI? I know this is one of the questions that people are asking. Is it going to take over the world? And are we looking for the Terminator? How do you feel about what AI and its possibilities are?
So, artificial intelligence is a bucket term that has a lot of different meanings to a lot of different people. In terms of intelligence that thinks for itself, we're a long way from that. Really, the current boom in sort of generative AI that comes from Chat GPT and other solutions out there is, it's really just making machine learning capabilities more accessible to the average sort of layperson, so that you don't have to know how to program in order to ask a question of the tool. That tool can then go out to all of the information that exists out there and sort of bring back the answers. But if you think about it today, it's really not much smarter than an eighth grader. And so its ability to replace you, if you know more about your industry than the average eighth grader, you probably know more about it than artificial intelligence
Okay.
does.
Well, okay. Then, so jobs, or at least some jobs, are secure. Then that's good to know. So, one of the things I'm curious if you could elaborate on, because you did talk a little bit about it, like a lot of people that listen to the podcast, they're business owners and wondering what kinds of things should they be thinking of. And there's some issues. There's a lot of marketers out there. It's very confusing. Technology space is changing all the time. So, what would you recommend business owners to be thinking and considering of, given the state of technology today in marketing?
Yeah. So all of this sort of instability in the marketplace and economic uncertainty that exists today, and
Mhm.
really has since the pandemic lockdowns, what we are seeing, and sort of the system that we lay out in the book here, is really this sort of approach to focusing on systems and processes that can be optimized and then corrected. And what we see from that focus on systems is that it creates a lot more scalability and a lot more harmony within your team. Instead of having a marketing team that's focused on some KPIs, and a sales team that's focused on others, and a customer success team that's focused on even others, bringing together a shared scorecard that all three teams are working against, and then creating systems that they can collaborate on sort of eliminates a lot of the friction that exists in businesses by aligning people around these systems. And instead of saying, well, you failed, you didn't hit your objectives, it's, well, the system failed us. How can we work together to collaborate on that? And what we have found is that for companies that embrace this systems approach to sort of growth for marketing, sales, and customer success, they're not as dependent on ad agencies that oftentimes are just telling them to spend more money on ads, or gurus or consultants that are sort of keeping them on the hook for what's the next tactic that they can
Sure.
feed them the next month and charge them for.
Yeah.
And instead, we help companies really build their capabilities, build their team and their own internal function so that they can grow and have a lot more confidence in their growth forecasts and a lot more harmony within their business.
Yeah, I find this is very common that you get different departments within an organization and get the finger pointing, like it's you guys and it's you guys, but you really have to bring a collaborative effort and know that everybody's on the same team. And it's an
Right.
interesting point because then you can say, well, it's the process that failed. It's not, Joe Blow who's in the next cubicle. It's the
That's right.
process, and we can all improve on that.
That's right.
Now, one of the things I'm curious about is that with so many marketers out there and the claims are out there, everybody's going to say, this is what I can do and give me some money and going to make your world a happy place. What kind of expertise do you have, and how do you see yourself strategically as a partner or a differentiator within a very crowded market?
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And that's one of the things that we really strive to do is we don't see ourselves as sort of run and gun consultants. We don't come in, have marketing will travel, as the old adage from the Western was, but instead we really try to build the expertise that exists within our clients' companies so that they really have the freedom to not be dependent on us. And what we typically are working with is early stage companies, again,
Oh,
B2B SaaS, technology, B2B services that are at sort of the $500,000 a year to $20 million a year in revenue space. That's where we add the most value, because to get to that $500,000, there's a set number of things you need to do, and they're all laid out in the book. And I've got a course on that. And
oh,
but most CEOs that are founding these companies, they kind of know from their Rolodex who they need to talk to, and from their experience in the industry, what they need to build and what they need to do to get to that kind of product market fit. However, at that point, then they need some creative ideas for how to grow. And rather than going to an agency that's just going to tell them spend more money on ads, or a consultant that's just going to be chasing growth hacks, we can come in as sort of an outsourced or a fractional CMO and provide real strategic thinking and build those systems that can propel them to sort of double their revenues on the yearly basis to get them from 500,000 to 20 million. At which point it makes sense for them to have a full-time CMO in-house. And we actually sort of have what we call our 10x ROI B2B growth guarantee, where we guarantee a 10x return on investment with us, because we're really making strategic impacts on systems that create a lot more leverage in the business, rather than just focusing on, well, let's get you more leads. That's not always the solution. The result is oftentimes you get more leads, but we really focus on doubling revenues. And that might be from accelerating deals through the sales pipeline faster, getting more renewals, upsells, and referrals, or it might be just in bringing in more of the right leads that are going to grow your business instead of some of the bad leads that we've seen actually kill businesses.
Yeah, it's an interesting title that you said, right? Because it's for salespeople, those leads, it's a good thing. So,
That's
very
right.
curious about that. Some of the things that you have mentioned here, they've been a long time in business, and you've seen some of the changes, and you also address some of the points of expertise. If a person is listening and they understand what you can do and how you approach things differently, could you talk about maybe the book where they can get a hold of that, and how they get a hold of you, and how can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So I'm actually going to do something for your listeners. The first 50 folks to go to modernrevenuestrategies.com/free download, I'll give a complete copy of the book, Are Your Leads Killing Your Business? And with that comes templates, calculators, forms that they can use to sort of enact all of the recommendations. We call it our 5-step growth framework that's laid out in the book. It even has hours of bonus training videos that come with it
Oh,
to show them how to create a differentiated positioning strategy for their business, show them how to identify opportunities to connect with their customer throughout their customer journey, which can save them a lot in advertising expenses, and show them how to create the systems that create sort of unity and sort of harmony between their marketing, sales, and customer success teams to really achieve that double growth. So first off, that would be the first way to connect with me.
okay.
But if they're looking for more than just a guide on how to do it and really want some help in sort of ensuring their success or accelerating their success, they can reach out to me, Mark, M-A-R-K, at modernrevenuestrategies.com. And I'll be happy to provide what we do, sort of a free audit of your existing marketing systems or revenue systems to identify what's the fastest path to growth.
Mhm.
And then from that, we can then put together a plan to help them double their revenues in the next 90 days.
And you had mentioned a course as well too. How does that fit in? Is that accessible? Or how
Yeah, so it depends on if you're looking for, do it yourself, which sort of the book will get you to, or done with you, where the course is one of those sort of bridge offers that you can use to sort of a self-learning over a 6-week time
Okay.
frame, or done with you or for you, where people will bring us in as more of someone to work in their business and build their capabilities for them.
All right. Awesome. Mark, thanks a lot for taking the time out and especially the free offer, which I didn't know. So there's a surprise there for the audience. So make sure you take advantage of it and hopefully you reach out. Thanks for taking some time and chatting today, Mark. Appreciate it
Thank
very
you. It
much.
was a real pleasure.
You bet. So if you like hearing Mark or other folks, make sure that you are liking, subscribing, and especially positively reviewing on Apple Podcasts. That helps keeping the podcast going. Until next time, thanks for listening in this time. Until next time, this is Dr. Digital signing out. Deus Volt.